Well, hello everybody, back on this Keithley 2015 again, which has two basic issues: dim display and commas appearing where commas shouldn't be appearing, and I've made no progress on the commas, so I've given up on that one. There was an option on eBay to buy another display board completely, but it was untested, and I was offered a price because I was watching it than the original asking price. I made him a counter offer, a low counter offer. He refused it, so I'm not interested basically, because even at my low offer I still might end up with something which is as bad or maybe even worse than what I've got now. So I'd have wasted my money. You've got to ask yourself, what is a board, and he had two others he sold, doing on eBay like that? It's obviously come out of one of these, or the multimeter, because they use the same board. And why has it come out? Probably because it's got a bad display, a dim display, or some other fault. So I'm not interested in risking my money on something that might have been scrapped. But having read something this morning on a very detailed website on all the different problems you can suffer with not necessarily this 2015 but the 2000 series multimeter, he talks specifically about the display and the dimness of the old displays, and he demonstrated how you can maybe temporarily increase the brightness by putting more current through the heaters on the vacuum fluorescent display. Of course, you run the risk of reducing its lifespan even more, because it's going to be burning brighter, and as we all know, things that burn brightly last the shortest time. Whatever. So I think I'll take it apart yet again and have a look at that display board and see if it matches up with what I was reading this morning. So yet again I've got to take it apart. I've lost count of how many times now I've taken that display board out. So I'll do that and get back to you. So what you're seeing now is the back of the display board, and this is one pin of the heater, pin 1 if you want to call it that. At the other end of the pins, down here, is pin 34. That's the other end of the heater, and that measures around, I think around, is it turned off? Yes, it is turned off. Let's measure it. That's not right. Wrong pin. 6.7 ohms, okay? That's the resistance of the heater in the VFD. But if we look closely, if I can get it in the right angle, we've got some, I don't think I was going to focus. Go on, you bastard, focus. No, it doesn't want to focus. But whatever. Down in here we have two resistors which are in series, and they go, one goes to the heater pin, and then the signal to the heater goes in the other end of the resistor combination, and it's exactly the same at that end. Two resistors in series, and I think they measure, well, I read them earlier, they're 12.1 ohm. Now there is some not suspicion, there is the possibility of decreasing that value so that you get a bit more heater current, and I think the guy used 22 ohm resistors stuck on top of these, and you got to buy the display. But of course, doing that, you're risking the display burning out a lot quicker. But it might be interesting to see what actual voltage is across the VFD. So I'll just try and measure that. Right, let me try and get my probes on the pins of the heater. 4.3 volts, which is more or less what I was reading on this guy's website, and I'm trying to find out where the voltage comes in through the resistors, which is fairly hard to do. I think it's, yeah, here we are. So it starts off at 7.1 before it goes through those series. No, it's 7.9. Sorry, got that wrong. I'm checking on different parts, different resistors along here. It's 0.3. I put 3. .9. That's the highest I can find. So it's 8 volts, and it's been dropped down to 4.3, which is a normal running voltage for the heaters. And I wonder what would happen if I do what he says. And he only seemed to do it on one set of resistors. There's the resistors. As far as I can tell, he only modified the one current limiting resistors combination, and he stuck, I think, 22 ohm resistors across them. What could go wrong, eh? Could burn the filament out, couldn't I? Oh well. I think I'm going to try anyway. Okay, this is the website photographs that I found earlier, and what he's done on those 12.1 ohm resistors, he's actually stacked 3 22 ohms in parallel on each resistor. That seems a bit drastic to me. So the 322s are going to be about 7 in parallel, in parallel with 12. That takes it down to about, what, 4 or 5? Where sounds like a bit of a disaster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some 22s if I've got them in surface mount. I'm just going to stick one to start with on each resistor, see if that does anything. Yes, I've got some 22s, but they're a fair bit smaller. But I think I can manage it, even so. So I think I'll go ahead and do that off camera. I can't be doing with that stuff on camera. But first of all, before we do that, I think we ought to look at the actual display as it is and get an idea of the brightness levels. Well, it may look good to you on camera. The camera's obviously compensating, but that is a fairly dim display to my eyes. Let's go ahead then, get the soldering iron warmed up, see if I can wreck it. The board, not the soldering iron. Okay, well that's with those resistors installed, and I can't really see any difference with my eyes. So maybe it needs even more resistors. Let's have a look. What I'd like to do now is just measure the voltage though on the VFD. So let's get all this out of the way and turn it over. Yeah, well, here's the resistors I added. Not very pretty. Same on the other side of the board. Let's get the meter on it. I'm getting the probes on there. I can't see what I'm doing. Hang on a minute. Right. Well, before I was getting about 4.3, I think. Now I'm up to 5.2. So that has increased our filament voltage by a volt, roughly. I think it's time to go for another 22 on each of those. Okay, well that's another 4 resistors added. Let's see what it does now. Switch it on. And I think that is slightly brighter than it was when I first started it. And now it'd be interesting to see what the voltage on that VFD is. I can get it to stop moving around. Of course it's AC voltage. AC voltage is better for some reason for VFDs. Let me get the camera on the meter. Right, let me get on the pins, which is tricky. .6. That's gone up from 4.3 to 5.6. I think I can risk 4 more resistors. Well, that is the final resistors added, and it doesn't look very pretty. They're stacked 4 stories high now, but that's brought the overall resistance down to 3.8 ohms, and it originally started at 12. So let's see what it does now. Ready for liftoff. Yeah, I reckon that is a fair bit brighter Really hard to tell. Still not what you expect from a normal, new, bright vacuum fluorescent display, but I'm not going to risk going any higher than that. Let's just check now what the AC is on that VFD up to the meter. Go on the pins. We're up to 6 volts now. So we've gone up 2 volts. That's as far as I'm going to go with it. As far as I'm going to go with this. Of course, as we all know, or some of us might, some of us might not, when you're over driving that filament, it's going to lessen its life even more. But it's not like I'm going to leave this on for hours and hours. It'll be on for a few minutes at a time and then turned off. And I don't think I've got much to lose by doing this. I think it has improved it a little bit, not massively, but that's all I'm going to do anyway. So thanks to my all my viewers, particularly the ones who left me really helpful comments. I can think of 2 or 3. One is Joe, who I've exchanged emails with. Thanks, Joe, and others as well. Bye for now. One last look when it's installed back in where it belongs, and I am sure that's brighter now than it was before I started all this. I'll have to have a look at the other video I've got of it. Anyway, bye for now.